Welcome to Layman's Terms Podcast, the place where we talk about really big topics using the smallest words possible. I'm Danny the bartender.
And I'm Tommy the trash man.
And together we're just two guys trying to explain the ever-changing world around us the only way that we know how. And today we have a special guest. He's known as King Po on Instagram. And Tommy and him had a interesting interaction online.
Yeah, so Jay, thanks for coming on the show.
No problem.
And to break it down a little bit, as I'm sure most people, a lot of times we get into these little debates on social media. And I talked about this guy's page before, 100 Days of Summer. I was on there. And Jay and I got in a little debate. And a lot of times with social media and the way things are in today's day and age, they don't usually end up well. Like I can tell you probably 95 to 99% of the time I get in arguments online, they do not go well. So there was a little bit of back and forth. And I mean, we had to write each other responses going back probably 20 responses. It was a long go back and forth. And then Jay reached out and inboxed me. He started following my page. He reached out and he was like, yo, man, go back and forth. And it was just interesting to see the dynamics, even in the conversation, it started to change a little bit. So I had this idea a few months ago to kind of get in touch with somebody, maybe because, like I said, I do get in arguments with people sometimes. And I always thought it would be cool to have somebody come on the show that maybe you had a difference of opinion with, and to kind of, you know, just talk it out. And the fact that Jay reached out, I thought it was super dope because, like I said, that is extremely uncommon for anybody. And on top, and plus we're guys, you know what I mean? Like our ego's getting away. Like, fuck this guy. Like I'm fucking right. You know what I mean? So like, that's usually how those things play out. So right off the bat, for the people that aren't maybe seeing this on YouTube, I'm gonna get into more disagreements because my man Jay's got a Dallas Cowboys thing set.
Yeah, let's address the elephant in the room here.
So like, this may be the biggest issue that we may come across right now. Jay, where are you from, man?
And that's the weird part about it. I get asked that question a lot. I'm from Atlanta, born and raised in Atlanta.
Okay.
But yet, huge Dallas Cowboy fan. Huge.
So how does that even happen?
Because my dad bought me a football when I was a kid, and it was a blue and white. It didn't have anything on it. It was just a blue and white football.
Okay.
And I had that, and then watching the NFL classics, watching Emmitt Smith, and because I'm a young buck. I'm a little young, so watching Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin and Troy Aikman and all of them, it fascinated. Like how most people are fascinated with the Bulls, the '90s Bulls, and made them a Chicago Bulls fan. That's what made me a Dallas Cowboy fan, the 90s Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, I always actually like when people have those stories where you say, like, why do you like this team? And we're from Philly, and I knew people that liked Dallas back when Emmett was in there. And to me, they were picking the team that was good, you know? Mm-hmm. But when you meet somebody who likes an odd team and lives in a different city, I always like when the story is, my dad brought me to this game or gave me this football or whatever. So you get a pass on the Cowboys for that.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, especially because with the reference to the Bulls, that was my time era. You know what I mean? So like, Jordan was my favorite player. The Bulls they were my favorite team. I had Bulls everything in my room. So I get it. Now, of course, as I'm older, like now I'm Philly everything. You know what I mean? Like I support all the local teams. But yeah, man. So that's how that goes. But so you guys, since we're talking about sports, man, we got a lot of interesting things going on in the sports world.
Oh man, I'm ready to talk about it.
We got the NFL draft going on tonight.
That's true.
And I'm sure anybody that's listening knows that Philly and Dallas have a huge rivalry. Where do you guys pick? At like 10, something like that? I think
number 10.
Yeah, and the Eagles pick at 12. And for most mock drafts, I know they have Dallas taking Patrick Surtain.
Yeah.
And that's kind of who I have my eyes set on. That's kind of who I'm hoping the Eagles draft.
He's not falling down to 12, though. I can't see that happening.
I know. Well, there's a little bit of rumors going on that the Eagles are going to try and move back up since they traded down, which I would love if we can break your hearts. I would love for that to happen. But if it doesn't, I'll settle for JC Horn. I don't watch college sports.
Right.
So like I just go based off of like what I read, once the draft starts coming up, obviously you see all the mock drafts and all the reports on all these players and all. So JC Horn, Joe Horn's kid. I mean, Joe Horn was spoken third person. So, I mean, he was an interesting person. So I'll take him. We need some cornerback help.
So what do you think about, because it's a lot of, if let's say, what's his name? Kenny Pitts?
Kenny Pitts. I don't know who that is.
The tight end from Florida that everybody's been talking about.
Oh,
the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Yes.
So if he falls down to the Cowboys or Eagles, because I know the Eagles, y'all need receivers, so I can get y'all. But with us, everybody's saying we should go defense. We shouldn't go offense, even though that would probably make us unstoppable offensively. We'll probably give it up like 100 points a game if we go offense.
Yeah, you guys killed us last year with taking CeeDee Lamb. But I don't know, man. I mean, I think we need to load up on defense. I think his name's Kenny Pitts, I think, right? Is it Kenny Pitts or Kyle Pitts, something like that?
One of the Kyle Pitts, surely is.
Kyle Pitts, okay.
Mm-hmm.
From what I'm seeing now, he's not dropping past like 5 or 6.
They're speculating that Atlanta's going to draft him instead of drafting the replacement for Matt Ryan. They're saying most likely they're going to draft Kenny Pitts and pair him with Julio and pair him with Julio,
which would be good. I mean, they need some help, but they need to also get a replacement for Matt Ryan because he's getting a little up there. But so we got that going on. We got Atlanta making some moves in the social department. Man, you had a big news story coming out of Atlanta because the MLB took the All-Star game out of Atlanta and moved it to Colorado for the voter ID laws in Georgia.
Yeah.
So, like, what do you think about that?
Oh, because I kind of see where both sides, as far as the voter ID laws come from. I can see where both sides come from.
Right.
But I think I'm leaning more towards the side. Hey, what's an ID? I mean, come on. What's an ID? Come on. So I think I'm leaning more towards that side on that regards. That's huge though, because you wouldn't think that sports and politics should mesh like that, as far as taking a game out of a city because of something politically. But I know they did that a few years ago to Charlotte because of the transgender bathroom law that they passed.
That's right.
Yeah,
so that was done before.
Oh, I don't remember that.
No, that's right.
Mm-hmm. And they didn't take it away, but they threatened to take it away because of the new transgender bathroom.
Yeah, there was a lot of threats. Nothing actually went down because I think the threats worked or something. You know what I mean? But I'm with you on this in the sense of like, look, I mean, I could sit here and debate all day long about the voter ID stuff, but I just don't like, look, I mean, if I'm on one side of an argument or the other, don't take my sports away.
That's
you
right.
know what I mean? Like, these are things that are supposed to always keep us unified, sports and stuff like that. That's how I feel. There's the politics and sports is always the pastime. Like, it's the one place where you can kind of just like everybody comes from all different races, nationalities, whatever, and supports their team or their city or whatever. I just don't like the idea that they get involved in a situation like this where it's very debatable too. It isn't a cut and dry situation.
Yeah. And I think what sucks about that is that it had major implications on the city of Atlanta. I mean, I don't know the exact numbers, but the amount of revenue that they lost, it's a lot of fucking money.
They said, I think $100 million.
Yeah. I mean, that's huge.
I don't think that look, I mean, like personally, like I said, it's like, I just don't like when there was just a time when business and sports and stuff stayed out of politics. And now I understand if it's a cut and dry race issue or something, like you find out like somebody's completely like doing something that they shouldn't be doing. But for a law that's debatable, like there's people on both sides that are, there's black people on both sides of this issue. So why just, why join a side when it doesn't seem to be, a lot of these moves don't seem to be beneficial to them either. I don't know if they're making a bad choice or what.
Well, yeah, because the numbers were, I think Atlanta, the population is 56 or 53% black, and they moved it to a predominantly, overwhelmingly white neighborhood in Colorado. So
which also requires voter ID. So that's what I don't get.
So yeah, it just kind of clashed the ideas. But so yeah, man. So tell us a little bit more about Atlanta, I guess. What's going on down there and how that, do you talk to people like how that really affects things down there or whatnot?
I don't think I've actually spoken to anybody. I don't think I actually spoke to anybody about that, because I don't think the MLB. Well, I don't think it was a big it wasn't as big as a deal down here as the NBA All-Star game.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, there's a good portion of Atlanta, of course, that's predominantly black, right?
Yeah.
And not to say there's not black MLB fans, there are, but I think more of them flock towards the NBA side than MLB. So maybe it could be to my ignorance, but in my circle, I think we're more NBA fans.
Yeah.
Than actual MLB fans.
Well, I just meant, because I don't even really care for baseball myself.
No.
But I just meant as far as black business owners and all, and how that the loss of revenue affected them. You know what I'm saying?
But see, here's the crazy part about Atlanta is that so many people coming, since Atlanta's been basically virtually open since the beginning of the pandemic.
Really?
There's so many people. Yeah, it never really closed. It closed down for like those 2 months, but outside of that, it wasn't as closed as most of the major cities. So a lot of people come down here for vacation. A lot of people either going to Miami or Atlanta for a vacation. So there's plenty of revenue coming into the city. It's a lot of people from out of town currently in Atlanta right now, especially when the All-Star game hit.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a lot of revenue coming to the city.
I've actually never been to Atlanta. I've been to North Carolina. That's about as close, I guess. Yeah. But that's about as close I've been to Atlanta. But so you were saying they never really shut down?
Just for those 2 months, when the 2 months when basically the whole country shut down. But after that, when we came back open, how most places were partially open, like LA's, the New York, they probably had like a 40% occupation rule.
Yeah.
Atlanta wasn't really like that. And you also, I don't know if you actually remember also when the story broke about the mayor who was trying to implement a mandatory mask rule that no matter where you went, you would have to wear a mask. And the government actually filed a lawsuit against the mayor of Atlanta to say, no, we can't do that. You're going to violate civil rights. So it's basically been like, that's basically been Atlanta. It never really shut down after the actual shutdown, where the whole country shut down. It never really shut down after that.
Well, I like your mayor. What's Lance Bottom? Keisha
Lansbottom. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Keisha Lansbottom.
I like, not to get right into like a political thing, but I think she should have been the vice president.
a lot of people said that. A lot of people said that. So I would have liked that more than Kamala, but hey, it is what it is.
I don't even know who she is. And now I'm feeling like left out, because I'm like, I'm clueless when it comes to the mayor.
She just seems like she cares. Like, she seems like she gives a crap.
A genuine person. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I might not agree with her on everything she does, but if you care and you're coming from a place of like, you're coming from your heart when you're making decisions, and I might have a difference of opinion, but it's no better than hers,
Right. Like, so I can totally understand why she would have wanted to pass a mandatory law of the mask thing. I can understand that. I can understand why the government would disagree too, because you got your rights. Can't force you to do that. So you got your rights. I understand both sides.
So you're right. So if you go to a bar or something in Atlanta, is it like no masks and shit? Or
no
is it?
Masks.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, no masks. Yes.
Well, how do you feel about it though? Maybe it's not great. Maybe it's scary. I don't know.
Well, me personally, since I live with someone who's elderly,
okay,
I try to be considerate as far as that.
Yeah.
But outside of that, man, yeah, I probably would have been wearing no mask if that was the regard. But that's not probably. I just do it to be considerate of others.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because you said that you were a little bit younger. Like obviously Danny and I are on the little, we're a little on the older side, man. We're 40 and 39.
Okay.
But so how old are you?
I'll be 28 in July.
Okay.
Oh, all right. Well, you're not super young, man. You know, I would love to go back to 28 and do a lot of things differently, but
I'd probably do the same mistakes. It wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
I definitely would have did a few things differently. But yeah, so so we had that with sports, and then there's a lot going on with the social justice.
Well, real quick, Tommy, before you, because there's one story that one huge sports story that broke today, and I don't know if y'all wanted to get into that. It's the Aaron Rodgers thing, saying that he doesn't want to go back to the Packers.
I did just I was on the way to a chiropractor, me being 40, I got to go get my back cracked and everything.
Got you. And
I saw it came on my phone. So I don't know, man. I mean, it's possible that maybe something happens at the draft, maybe tonight or tomorrow, whenever it is. Because what do they have? The first round's tonight, and then second, third round, I think tomorrow, and so forth. So I don't know. I mean, that's huge. If they can't, I don't even know where Green Bay drafts.
Who's their backup?
Jordan Love. They drafted him last year, and that's why he wants to leave, because you drafted him. You drafting you're drafting a guy who's coming after me, and I'm still playing. Instead of giving me some more help, you're drafting my replacement. So,
yeah. Well, that sounds like a Brett Favre thing all over again. I mean, that sounds like.
Well, Brett Favre and Philadelphia. I mean, we just had Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts. Like, I was literally. I mean, we talked about this, I think, on the podcast. I was like anxiously awaiting, man, sitting on the edge of my seat, and the Eagles took Jalen Hurts, and I was like, did this just fucking happen? Like, it didn't make any sense whatsoever, and I was completely blown away, and that just sent the train right off the track. And that just, the whole season, I think, was a little bit, even trying to get Jalen Hurts like in the mix, like with the trick plays and all. I'm like, come on, man. Like this is just bullshit. Like, you got your franchise quarterback. You just gave him a shit ton of money. Now, regardless, like, obviously Carson has had some issues staying healthy. But you got a bad team, man. Like, you got to make some moves. If you just commit to that dude and give him over $100 million, you got to make the team around him better. And drafting a quarterback that early is not helping your case. So I did hear something about that. What's his name? Not Brett Favre. Oh yeah,
Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers was a little bit upset about them drafting another quarterback, but I don't think they took him until, what was it, like the third round?
They traded up. They traded up in the first round.
Oh, did they? They took him in the first round?
They traded up in the first round. So
see, I didn't remember that, but. It is. So that's kind of like, it's a little bit of a slap in the face. So like, while I was certainly like kind of like on my team side this whole time, I mean, we've had a lot of reports coming out recently about the Birds and the inner workings of the organization, and how Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie, they got way too much. Obviously, the owner has a lot to say, obviously, but sometimes, like the Cowboys, like Jerry Jones likes to get a little bit too much involved in shit. And, you need people that are going to smack you down, but like, yo, like, this is not what we need to do here. And there were reports that came out after they got rid of Doug Peterson that they were mocking Doug. They didn't really trust him. This guy, I wasn't a huge Doug Peterson guy, but he did win us a Super Bowl.
Recently, a recent Super Bowl.
Yeah. So like, I don't know, man. It's I don't really know. It's kind of tough to speak on. It's easy for us like to talk about it when we're not running an organization or all that stuff. But
well, as a passive Eagles fan, I was a little disappointed. I mean, like, maybe I don't know enough to really get into it, but I thought there was a little something weird about the Doug Peterson not putting Wentz in and kind of throwing that game and getting a lower draft pick. I thought maybe that's why they got rid of him.
I mean, that was definitely controversial, but at the same time, I understood it, and I didn't have a problem with them going with Jalen Hurts the rest of the year, because it was like, well, You have to kind of see now that Wentz is all fucked up and you fucked that whole relationship up, just go and see what you got. I mean, the kid came in, he played pretty well. Not enough to really commit the whole franchise to him, but now he deserves a chance to show what he's made of. And, you know, he's going to get it this season. Hopefully they don't fuck the draft up tonight because they haven't done things well, but we'll see.
Where do you think Aaron Rodgers would go? Did he say anything like that? Is there any talk?
He stated that he wanted to. It's too late for the. I wanted to say St. Louis for the Rams, to the Los Angeles Rams. It's too late for them, but he wanted, his dream destination was the Los Angeles Rams, and because they were saying that this report, he actually asked this like maybe like a month ago. This is long. It's just breaking now. The story is just now breaking, but he wanted to go to the Rams or the 49ers because, you know, he grew up a lifelong 49ers fan. He's from Southern California, so he grew up a 49ers fan. So that would be the dream matchup, and they got the pieces to trade for him.
Yeah, well, and he's good, man. That dude, he was getting 6 touchdowns a game.
Oh, I mean, dude, Aaron Rodgers he's an amazing quarterback. He's getting a little up there though. I mean, I would imagine Aaron's got to be 34, maybe. If Matt Ryan's 36, he's got to be about 38. He has to be a little slightly older than.
Yeah, I'd say he's older than 34, dude.
Really?
Yeah,
because Matt Ryan's about to turn 36.
Okay. I don't know, man. I got to look that up now, but yeah, I don't know. He's 37. Oh, so he is older than I thought.
So 1 year older than Matt. Okay.
But the dude still got some game in him. And if Tom Brady can go out there 40 something and still do it, Aaron Rodgers can.
But another speculation, they were saying, what if the Saints trade for him?
Well, I could see him on that's what I was first thinking was the Saints, because they couldn't get it together this year with Breeze.
Well, and he retired.
Did he retire?
Yeah, he retired. Yeah. So, I mean, hey, that would be a good move for them. Any team that makes the move for him, they got to be in a position to win. Because again, he is a little bit older. So a team like the Saints, I feel like they're still pretty set up to win. So yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens when that how that plays out.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, and then still continuing off of some of the sports stuff we had. So I don't know. What was the last show episode that we did, Danny? I guess it's been about a week and a half, something like that.
Yeah, we've been on another hiatus because I got put back at work for fucking 90 hours a week.
Yeah. And you know, so then we had the LeBron James story that came out, and he put some tweets out about the officer and the shooting. I don't know if the shooting of that girl took place the last time we talked.
No, it was like the day after.
Was it? Okay. And LeBron James, you know, he tweeted accountability and you're next. And first of all, I am not a fan of LeBron James. I never have been since the moment he had the decision, as it was called, right? When he made the move from Miami. So like, I'm biased. I get it. Jordan is like a god to me. There is no debating. And then the whole decision thing with LeBron James, that just rubbed me the wrong way because one, I already don't think you're the GOAT. You're not the GOAT to me. And this whole hoopla and like press conferences and specials that you're going to leave to go, and I'm bringing my talents to South Beach. And again, you're supposed to be the best player in the league. And like you're doing, you know, you're going to join megastars. I get that was kind of trending in the NBA, but still everything about me about LeBron has kind of like rubbed me the wrong way. I think if you go back and you look at some of his comments about the social aspects in the United States, he's kind of flip-flopped a little bit. I saw a press conference of him before where he was saying some things like he didn't really want to talk about it. And now he's been very outspoken about a lot of things. And in my personal opinion, he's gotten some things wrong. And I absolutely think he did get this situation wrong. And unfortunately, when a guy of his status kind of comes out and says things like that, it sets a bad example and gives a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. And that's just kind of like my biggest concern when people come out and they say things like that, and then it's like, hold on, and then all the information comes out and you're like, okay, maybe it was justified. So what do you think about that?
I'm going to shock some people here because anybody knows I grew up the biggest LeBron James fan. Yeah. So obviously I'm biased too. But on this one, I'm actually 1000% with you. It was very irresponsible of him to use this platform to use that tweet when he doesn't have all the facts. Right. And even if he did have all the facts, it still would have been a little bit irresponsible because you're basically putting a target on this cop's back. And some people are saying he should sue. The officer obviously should sue because obviously that puts his family in danger, that puts his livelihood in danger, that may put his co-workers in danger. It's very dangerous to make that tweet. So I can't, like I said, I grew up a huge LeBron James fan, but I can't roll with that one because, like I say, not only did you get it wrong. Well, here's the biggest problem I have. As a man, we all make mistakes. Young or old, we all make mistakes.
Oh yeah.
My biggest problem with the LeBron James thing is, if anybody has noticed, he still hasn't apologized.
No.
So I don't know if it's just a media pressure why he deleted the tweet, or if he actually genuinely felt like dang, I messed up.
Well, he put another tweet out, but it was like it wasn't an apology. He said, "Here's why I deleted the tweet," but it wasn't too far off from just leaving the tweet up there. The difference was there was no picture, you know? Like, but he did put a follow-up tweet out explaining, like, I just deleted the last tweet because, like, it was like he was saying, I deleted it because it caused so much whatever. However, I still think that there needs to be whatever. And then he put the hashtag accountability again.
So it's almost like double downing.
Yeah.
But he's not taking accountability. It's the irony of it is, at least you can do is apologize. One thing a man has to do is admit when he's wrong, especially when you're talking about putting somebody else's life or kids or something like that or livelihood in danger.
Well, yeah, and especially in this climate right now, but a lot of the things that we're dealing with when it comes to policing in the African American communities and just, policing in general, like, you can't be coming out and saying that, especially if you want one message to come out, and talk about positivity and whatnot. And that's one thing, like, even just in the beginning of the podcast, how we mentioned, like, how you reached out and you were like, yo, good talk. Like, neither one of us were necessarily, I'm not saying that neither one of us were wrong, but you stepped up and you were like, yo, man, that was a good talk, good dialogue. And just as your man, as a man with your ego, especially the size that I would imagine of LeBron James, or not even just LeBron James, a lot of athletes and actors, famous people in general, even in the media, they have tendencies to not put out information when they're wrong. They don't say, oops, we got this wrong. It just kind of goes under the rug. And then the people that usually turn to these, like the average people that turn to maybe celebrities or their news outlets for the information, they see it and they're like, well, they didn't apologize or whatever, so fuck it. Like, I guess it wasn't wrong.
Well, I think, and like my whole thing with these guys tweeting stuff out and stuff is like, what I see an absence of is, I think like LeBron James would be a perfect guy. Like we've all seen things that are wrong. And I'm sure he's tweeted out things about those things, and I probably couldn't argue them. But I think if you really want to be someone and use your platform for good, like, what is your goal then? Are you only, like, in other words, the fact that maybe he was wrong about that and he deleted it and never apologized makes me feel like shouldn't his goal be to kind of like want a better outcome and a united America, instead of just like, just a bashing one side of things. Because I think what's missing is every once in a while somebody needs to come out and say like, hey, like let's not get crazy about this. You know, like this was actually a situation where you know, a cop did the right thing or whatever. In other words, like to kind of maybe like I feel like if I had that platform, my goal would be to kind of like be a voice of reason as well as, you know, like sometimes maybe you need to be the voice to kind of motivate people for change, but sometimes you need to tell, you know, that your followers like, okay, guys, relax on this. Like, let's not attack this guy. We might have this situation wrong. And so that's what scares me is it's like just an onslaught at anything that happens. They're just like going after the cops. And I don't think that the result from that is necessarily a good outcome. And I wish some people with platforms like LeBron James would, you know, as well as, you know, use it to push the agenda, also use it to kind of talk some sense into people too.
Yeah. And I mean, I think, you know, especially a guy like LeBron James, because in all fairness to LeBron James, I don't think I've ever really heard a bad story about the dude. Like he's never gotten in trouble. You never hear anything other than I think it was this season. He might have called the chick a bitch or something or a hoe or whatever.
Well, I think that was her fault.
Yeah, well, like apparently she was like screaming at him like she was at the court side or something like that. I don't know. And
and then LeBron got in, like her boyfriend got into it with LeBron. And I think that the chick was just looking for attention.
Oh, yeah, I do too. But what I'm saying is like in this climate, again, everybody's so super sensitive. So like apparently, I think he called her a bitch or something like that. Said something derogatory.
Deservingly so.
And then of course, like people were like, oh, LeBron. But you never really hear anything bad about LeBron James, which is another reason why I think it's like it will be so important for a guy like that to come out and be like, look at me, like I've had a hard life. I've done everything right. I should be used as an example of how your life can turn out. Not necessarily to be a basketball player, but to someone to aspire to just as a law-abiding great human being. You know what I mean? Like he has that platform to do that because he is that example. The dude doesn't get in trouble. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, I don't know. I again, I don't know everything about LeBron James, but I from what I do know, he has been the perfect role model, so to speak.
Yeah, I just think it's rare on either side of things to hear too many people. It's like everybody's waiting to pounce on the thing that goes with their narrative. There's nobody in the middle, like being like, hey, you know, just chill out or whatever, you know, like it's just weird to me.
Yeah. So, and on the last podcast, we talked about DMX, and I mentioned to Jay, because he reached out, and I think Method Man and Redman had a versus, which I caught a little bit of, but I didn't care for it because I'm like, dude, this seems like they're too close. They're too connected to have a versus. Like they got albums together. You know what I'm saying?
A lot of people were saying that's the problem with versus, and why, because as you know, versus was sold maybe like a month ago. You know, they were owned by I don't know if you know who Swiss Beats is. Swiss Beats and Timberland.
Yeah.
So they were owned by them, and you know they had a partnership deal. They were owned by them, but they had a partnership deal with Apple. And then they sold it to an up and coming app called Triller, and that's what people was complaining about ever since it got with Triller. It doesn't seem like it's a versus anymore. It seems like they're just putting friends together and having basically like a joint concert instead of a versus where I'm trying to knock your head off with this biggest hit of mine, and said, not only am I performing my biggest hit, but you're performing it. You're my hype man on the biggest hit. So it's not really like a verse. It's not competitive anymore as far as that. So I can see that complaint. And Method and Red, it was basically a joint concert. They were rapping each other, hyping each other up. Like I said, I'm young, so a lot of their songs, I never heard a day in my life.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, dude, Meth and Red, obviously, they're like hip hop icons.
Yeah.
I mean, they did movies together and How High, joint albums. So, like I said, to me, it was like it's not a real versus. Like it seemed like a Red and Meth concert. But
that was the same thing with the DMX verses too. From the little bit I watched, it was like Snoop and DMX were just kind of like DMX was doing his song, and Snoop was like, "Yeah, this is, can I do this on the background or whatever?" And I was like, "This is what's verses? It's just these two guys having a good time."
Well, because
it's going that way, yeah.
Well, because I don't know. Ultimately, isn't it? It's like online, and then the fans kind of vote on it, right?
Right, that's correct.
Yeah, so that's what I thought. So I don't know, who did they vote? Who won the Red and Meth?
So it's not like a real actual vote, but it's kind of like Twitter, just people. Basically tweeting. I think DMX got the bigger hit or whatever, but it's not an actual vote. But yeah, so but I'm pretty sure most people felt like Method won though.
Yeah, but either way, it's like there's so much. Like it's they're not necessarily trying to win, but you have people that are like just like on Twitter going, "Oh, he killed this, he killed that."
Well, Triller, it's interesting because I didn't know who they bought versus, but Triller is also in charge. They do those fights like they did the
right. That's correct. The Mike Tyson, Roy Jones Jr. fight.
Oh,
and
was
Nate
it?
Robinson. Yeah, they did a Nate Robinson and Jake Paul fight. Yeah, they did all those.
Oh, that was them?
Yeah, so they just had another one 2 weeks ago.
Right, that's correct.
Yeah. So I didn't know that Triller was in charge of that. Now I just heard that Tyson is going to fight Lennox Lewis. And I don't know but I thought that was separate. I thought Mike Tyson started some kind of company for like for this boxing promotions. I don't know. I honestly didn't see. Did you watch the Roy Jones and Tyson?
I had to work that night, so I was asleep. But of course, I caught the highlights.
I don't think there was many highlights.
Yeah,
I don't think there's many highlights at all.
It was hype though. People were like, Tyson is really fucking working out, man. He's really wants to, like, they did a good job of making it, because Roy Jones was saying like he was kind of getting scared. He's like, man, I didn't know he was going to be working out like that and everything. And then apparently the fight was just a dud.
Well, if you looked at Tyson if you listen, like I listened to Tyson on Rogan and a couple other podcasts, and he talked about like, dude, he was like a gentle giant, man. I mean, if there was ever a turnaround in somebody's whole attitude, like he was literally on there, like confessing, he's like, I don't even want to punch a heavy bag because I don't want that person to come out again. You know what I mean? And he was like, I was a fucking savage, which he fucking was. I mean, dude, even today, there's young dudes that would be like, that talk about like Tyson, like, man, motherfucker Tyson just knocked motherfuckers the fuck out. Like he's that much of a legend still, of just like, you know, being that much of a savage. And then to see him a couple months later, because he got a little pudgy. I mean, it happens. Like he's older. The dude was fucking ripped and hitting the heavy bag and the speed bag. You were like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
Like, this dude will still kill motherfuckers.
Well, Jay, you might be too young to not that you can't understand the Tyson thing, but let me just say in the 90s, like, and in early 80s or whatever, or late 80s, Mike Tyson was like this. First off, there was no UFC, there was no nothing. It was just boxing, and boxing was huge, you know? And then all of a sudden you had this like renegade, like you had this guy that was just knocking people out. And then at the same time, he started having like trouble in his life, and he was still the man. And he just became like the scariest dude. Like, who the hell would want to go up against this guy? And I even think at the time in the 90s or in the 80s, there was the three most famous people in the world were the three Mikes: Michael Jackson, Michael Jordan, and Mike Tyson.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And that's what I was just about to ask you guys, because I hear that a lot. I hear a lot of people say, like, some younger, and I hear a lot of people say there was a point in time where Mike Tyson was arguably bigger than Michael Jordan. And I was like, that's.
It sounds weird, but the thing was it was like insane. Like every kid liked him. He had his own video game. Like, and this is nowadays everybody's got a video game. Like he might have been one of the first like boxing sports games with a guy's face on it. You know what I mean? Mike Tyson was unreal, and he was so uniquely different. Like he talked like a child, yet you'd never want to fight him. You know what I mean? He was constantly, every comedian, everybody was constantly talking about him. But when I say crazy, what I mean is he was the kind of dude where like if a person made a joke about him, like the person's next concert where they, the next stand up, they'd be talking about how Mike Tyson tried to kill him in a club because he was mad they made a joke about him. So there was just all kinds of I mean, he went to jail for rape on Robin Givens, who was Miss America at the time, which I still think he got. It's kind of a sad story because he was a young kid from nowhere, like literally like with a savage upbringing, and boxing kind of like led him through. And then his manager passed away, and it was like his father figure. And he just got lost in the system of money, like everybody just wanted something from him, and he just became a demon, dude.
Well, it was like supernatural.
Yeah.
Like the way he was, like, and everything, the aura about Mike Tyson, you know what I'm saying? So like when he lost to
Douglas in Tokyo.
When that happened, that was like one of the biggest fucking shocks that people were like, how the fuck did that happen? Especially Buster Douglas, because who was a decent heavyweight, but he wasn't considered one of the top like level talents.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? But yeah, man, Tyson, that was a crazy era growing up with that. But
just even think, Jay, like you have this dude who's like going to jail, and you're wondering if he's going to come out and still fight for the title, and then next thing you know, he tattoos his face. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like he was that kind of dude where you're like, oh my God, Mike Tyson just tattooed half his face.
Yeah, but like now it's like every rapper and like every idiot like tattoos their face. I'm like, come on, man. You're not, unless you're Mike Tyson or putting out platinum records, it's not a good look.
That's true.
It's not a good look.
Even though I'm against the face tattoo, I think it shows commitment. It shows like, this is what I'm going to do now for the rest of my life. I've committed.
Well, you know what?
Going backwards.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but so I do hear a lot of rappers explain why they get it. Even though I still don't agree with it. They explain the reason why they get it is, like you said, it's commitment. They say they don't want to work a 9 to 5, but they don't want to work a job. So they say if they get a face tattoo, it basically commits them to where they have to be a rapper or they have to be in entertainment if they get that type of tattoo. So I can kind of respect it, but even though I don't necessarily agree with it.
Yeah, I would never do it, but you can understand. I mean, once you do that, you're signing a big contract with yourself.
So yeah, I just look at it like I get it. I mean, Travis Barker from Blink-182, the drummer, he kind of said a very similar thing. Like at a young age, he was heavily tattooed, and he was like, I knew that I was going to be a drummer. That's what I wanted to be. So I just committed. Like, that's how it was. So like, I get it, but probability, like life is all about probability. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And like the chances of you being Travis Barker, Travis Scott, it's so slim, dude. Like you're just going to put a tattoo on your face. Now, thankfully for laser removal, I mean, you can get that worked on because like we said before, it's okay if you're a manager of Rite Aid. We did a whole podcast on face tattoos. Well, not a whole podcast on face tattoos, but we were like, yo, man, it's okay if you got a normal job. If as long as you're paying the bills, just don't do the face tattoo, man. Mm-hmm. Don't do it.
If you're going to sign up for the face tattoo, you better be at least, you can't like start off with that. Like, you know what? I'm going to be a drummer. I'm going to go take some lessons. But the first thing I want to do to commit is I'm going to get a face tattoo.
yeah. Commit to practice, bro. Commit to practice before the permanent facial tattoo. You know, in the last episode, we talked about DMX, and obviously that was huge huge loss, for fans like growing in our era. And a couple more rappers just died, which I'm like, damn, bro, like what the fuck is going on as of late? So Black Rob died, which do you even know who that is, Jay?
Oh yeah. Whoa. Yeah, whoa.
Okay.
I mean, that's the only song I know, but yeah, whoa. That was huge. Because I was a kid. That was huge to me. But go ahead.
Because that was huge. And he had maybe like one or two other songs, but then he kind of he was a lot like really aligned with Bad Boy and had a couple, songs with them. And I had no idea that like he was doing really fucking bad. Like I saw a video of him where he was like, he could barely talk, and people were like up in arms because they're like, how the fuck is this man like so poor? And like Puffy wasn't paying nothing. Puffy wasn't, there to show some support. Obviously, it's easy to say Puffy should be doing this. I don't really know all the inner workings of that relationship because I heard that he tried to smash Puffy's chick at one point. So like, I get it. But then we just lost Shock G the other day, and I was like, dude, now
it's on the ground.
Now I know you don't know who Shock G was, right?
Oh, of course. I'm a huge Tupac fan, so of course I know who Shock G is. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So that's how you may be, because I was gonna say maybe not a lot of people know the connection between Tupac and damn, I was just fucking. Why the fuck did I just say his name and now I'm fucking Shock G? I was, but that was another huge loss. I mean, obviously with Shock G and Digital Underground, the Humpty Dance was the big
huge song. Yeah,
was the big claim to fame. And I was like, bro, like how the fuck, like Shock G, like they showed a picture of him. He was like 57. I'm like, he didn't even look bad.
Yeah,
I don't know what happened to him.
They said they found him face down in his hotel room. So
oh really?
It's no telling. Usually when that happens, it's usually unfortunately it's usually an OD, but I don't want to put that out, not knowing if that's what the cause of death is. But they found a face down in his hotel room.
Yeah.
I think something. I don't know nothing about Shock G and partying and shit, but I do think like some of these guys that live that life, and they don't let it go. I mean, you can't be partying and shit when you're in your 50s. You know what I mean? Like you just can't.
Yeah,
I don't know what kind of lifestyle he lived, but I just imagine sometimes, like not speaking for him, but speaking for maybe some others. It's like, imagine like the parties these guys go to and the kind of lifestyle they live for that 5 years that they're the most famous thing. I mean, it's even like with DMX, even though I don't think that's how he died. I don't know, but it's like, how do you go from being the number one thing to not anymore? And then like I would say they seek out like those, like they might not have the rap song anymore, but maybe somebody's still having Shock G at their parties and stuff like that. And it's like, he's just still trying to fucking party it up or something.
Yeah. I mean, bro, I'm 40 and I can't even drink like I used to, let alone living that type of lifestyle for years. And I just watched a video of Shock G and he was like talking about, when he first met Tupac he was a young buck. Like Shock G was like, he was like 26 or so. And Tupac was 17, 18 years old. He kind of helped him get him up in his first apartment and all. And he goes, bro, like Tupac was wild. And like, he was insane. And he's like, dude, I'm 26, I kind of like, I'm starting to calm down and like, I just want to take some ecstasy or whatever and chill in the crib. Like, and he's like, dude, like I would imagine, it's easy for me to say, I can't live that lifestyle no more because I got to get up in the morning and I got to go pick up trash for a living. Shock G and dudes like that, they probably think, oh, well, I can still get away with it because it's not like they got to go and flip burgers or go do construction in the morning. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't have that lifestyle that's like, you know what I mean?
Well, I also think that you don't realize it until you stop. Like, in other words, for me, I don't drink anymore and I don't really party anymore, but I'm a bartender, right, Jay? So like I was doing 10 shots a night, like, and that wasn't even like drinking. It was just like at work. Then I'd go out, get shit faced, whatever. And I got friends that are my age that are still doing the same thing. The only reason why I know I couldn't do it anymore is because I stopped. You know what I mean? But like, I think some of these guys, they just continue a life like that. And then, it just catches them. Do you drink, Jay? You a partier?
Oh no. Like I said, I'm at that age where I'm starting to slow down. When I was younger, maybe.
Yeah.
But my next question is, because I don't know if guys know about Bobby Brown's personal life, that he's basically lost his whole entire family to drugs, ODing. His wife, his daughter, his son-in-law. He's lost basically all of his intermediate family to not only drugs but ODing on drugs.
Who's this?
Bobby Brown.
Oh,
Bobby Brown.
Yeah. Is he still alive?
Yeah. He's still alive.
Still alive.
But like his family.
I'll tell you, like that's a situation where you feel bad because, like, that's another thing where like Bobby Brown was the shit. Bobby Brown was the shit. I don't know if too many people remember that, but Bobby Brown was the shit for like a moment.
Oh yeah.
And just like when you watch the stuff with like him and Whitney Houston and stuff, I think that's another thing too, is people don't realize, and I think it's a shame what they do to some of these people where like nobody cares about what, like, it's all about like, just give them whatever they want, Like they use the shit out of these people. And then I don't think anybody cares about what happens afterwards, and it's kind of a shame, man. But like, that's horrible to have your whole family, like to be from like, I mean, I don't know, at what point he lost all these people, but it's like, clearly then you have a person who's been a star since they were a child and they only know being a star. And I'm sure in his world, no one was like, hey man, don't invite Bobby to that. Cause it was like, just give him like whatever he wants. And even me as a bartender, like I can say that I've fallen victim to that because, like, let's just say Bobby Brown was to come in my bar and be like looking for drugs and hanging out with me or something, I would probably get him whatever he wanted just to tell, like, yeah, I was hanging out with Bobby Brown. Like, I wouldn't give a shit about, I would. I mean, I think I would on one angle, but everybody's opportunistic, and you got to think like their whole circle is a circle of people who, like, as long as they're cool, as long as Bobby Brown is happy with them, then things are good. And then what happens is Bobby Brown is no longer important to anybody and no one cares about him anymore. It's a shame.
Well, the craziest part about that story is he feels that his son-in-law, I can't remember his son-in-law, I'm drawing blanks, I can't remember his name, but he was saying that his son-in-law, he feels like his son-in-law killed his wife Whitney and his daughter Bobby Christina, because in both situations, scenarios where they OD'd, he was the only person that was with them that night. So he feels like he feels like they played a part or a role in their deaths. That's a serious accusation.
Yeah, like I don't know all the details, but I know that there was a lot of deaths that was surrounding Bobby Brown. Like obviously Whitney Houston was one. Now it was it Bobby? Is it his son or
Bobby Christina is his daughter. That's him as Whitney's daughter.
Okay, and but the dude, she was dating. Wasn't she dating like Bobby Brown's son or something like that?
It was something weird like that. It was something where it's like it's basically a brother and sister-in-law. I don't know how. I don't know their relation, but
there was no blood. Like there was no blood relation.
No blood in it, yeah. So that's the part I'm unclear on, but they were definitely brother and sister-in-law.
But yeah, so like everything about that whole thing was kind of strange. But the whole, I mean, that just goes to the whole entertainment industry as a whole, man. Whether it's athletes, actors, singers, whatever. It's crazy. The things that they experience on a regular basis, like that's what I mean. Like it's like, how the fuck is Mick Jagger still alive?
Yeah.
I mean, that dude's been shooting up heroin for the fucking past 30 years. You know what I mean? It just works out for some people. But again, I don't like, he gets up and plays guitar. So it's not like he's really living a strenuous life. Mm-hmm. But you know what I mean? Like,
but also too, like Mick Jagger has stayed relevant. You know what I mean? like I know that might sound dumb, but like when you got a circle of people around you and you're worth millions of dollars, people will make sure you're like, even though they're letting you party or whatever, like people are going to make sure that you don't go with the wrong like crowd or you don't whatever, like, you know, even something as simple as like making sure you get the best drugs. You know what I mean? And then what happens is if Mick Jagger was to like have a couple of failed albums or a failed tour and everybody just turned away from him, that's when you do the Bobby Brown shit where you end up just like going in the hood yourself trying to get drugs and shit. But what you said about Bobby Brown saying this about this person being responsible for Whitney and his daughter or whatever. See, here's another part that I think is fucked up about Hollywood is and now he's Bobby Brown. He's crazy Bobby Brown, right? So he's probably like he probably has valid concerns and issues, but like nobody takes anything he's saying worth anything anymore, which is a shame too, you know? It's like he's trying to say like, hey man, this dude might be responsible for Whitney's and my daughter's death, and all anybody knows about Bobby Brown is he's a crazy drug addict, you know?
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's just wild, that whole situation. And it's just weird because like it's tough to even speak on because like how the fuck, how would I even know the stories and the things that they go through? You know what I'm saying? Like they're by no means an average person.
Well, that's even what I mean, like about Whitney. That's kind of what I was getting at with like the Whitney Houston thing, where it wasn't until she got really bad and started to associate with Bobby Brown where people started to understand she had an issue. But like she's had an issue constantly. And because people didn't want you to see that, they only wanted you to see, you know, like it was just the whole thing was about like, who cares what she's doing? Just make sure she does this thing right and does this. And then eventually it just got out of hand, you know?
I think Bobby Brown fucked her up. That's my personal opinion.
No, but if you her story is she was like this, like I don't know, maybe Jay knows more than I do about it, but from what I started to see recently is that's what people always said. Bobby Brown fucked her up. But the reality of it was she was fucked up before she met Bobby Brown. So they were just like two peas in a pod. The only difference was he was no longer a celebrity and she still was a big celebrity. So the focus went on to Bobby Brown as if he was like bringing her down. But the reality was they were just two people of the same kind of, you know, that's who she was. Because when you watch the documentary on her and stuff, well before she met Bobby Brown, she was always like getting like crack and shit brought to her on set and stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
No, I didn't even know all that.
And so that's what I'm trying to say. Like the whole thing, if you think of that story and then some of what I was saying earlier with other things is like, you never knew that because you just like, oh my God, this angel with this beautiful voice, and everyone around her knew she had a crack problem. And if you were to be somebody who started to tell her like, you know, like one thing I thought about was there were people that were like her friends and they were like, yo, you need to stop this tour. Like she needs help. And basically, if you say that, if you could actually convince her to get help and stop the tour, you're going to cost the people around her millions of jobs and millions of dollars and jobs. And so nobody wants that voice around. Everybody around's idea is like, keep her happy, get her what she wants, get her to the next show, you know?
Well, to transition from that to so Jay, you got a little YouTube channel, man, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, I do.
What I watched one of the videos yesterday when you were talking about, you showed some videos of some ladies, little scantily dressed ladies, and it was like, yo, do you have any right to tell your girl what to wear? Now, before I even give my answer, what were you thinking of? What's your goal of the YouTube channel, and like what did you mean off of that video? Was it just clear cut? It is what it is.
You know, of course, I like right now I'm more of in the experimental phase on my YouTube channel. So I'm just trying to see hit this and try that and try this, see what works and sticks. So that's what I'm at an experimental phase. As far as the video and the topic, it's crooked. I seen what happened was I actually seen a post going viral on Facebook about it's in the video too about it was a chick. She was wearing she was kind of wearing like a bodysuit, but everything was like shredded, where everything is revealing. Like it may show cleavage, but the only thing that may be covered up is the actual areolas and the nipples.
Right.
So the question was, would you let your girl go out the house like that? And that's why that's what the question came from for me. I asked, can you tell your girl, hey, you can't wear that, and still have a relationship, even if you telling her that she can't wear this is too skimpy, this is too tight, this is too short. So that's where it originated from.
Well, what do you think?
In my opinion, like I said, obviously she's a woman. She could choose. She can decide where she can wear what she wants. It's her body, right? But as far as a man, I think as a man, you in a relationship, you are allotted respect. So I think that just goes along as a conversation as of respecting. She shouldn't go out the house like that. So I think you should be able to give input. I don't know if you can actually tell her, no, you can't wear this. Yes, it is, but you can give input as as a relationship is.
Well, I'd say with that, I'd say the situation, like I have this belief that like you can never expect anybody, you can't get into a relationship and start telling people to not do things that they were doing when you met them. But I also think, like, for example, how situational that could be. Like, if you go out with your girl and you've met this girl, you've been dating a girl for a couple months and she wears, the basic stuff. And then one day out of nowhere, she's like, oh, I'm going out with my friends. And she puts that on. I might be like, what the fuck's going on here? Like, I think it would be a little situational. But if you met her and she, like my old saying, I would say to people would be like, if you start dating a stripper, you can't start telling her how to dress. You know what I mean? If you met her and she was a stripper, but if you start dating a girl and a year later, she starts acting and dressing like a stripper, well, then maybe you could say, hey, what's going on here? But it all depends on where you're at and who you're with and what kind of relationship you have and whatever. But I just feel that, if that's what it was going in, and you start telling people not to dress a certain way, then maybe you're overstepping a boundary as long as they're not straying away from what you already know.
And let me ask you, because another comment I seen people debating about, obviously women chimed in, they had their opinion. Some men had their, disagreements, agreements, whatever. But one thing that was being asked in the comments is, or being said in the comments is that, men, if you ask your girl to do this, to do that, you're insecure. So how do you guys feel about it? You think a man's insecure by checking his girl and say, hey, that may not be a little appropriate. I don't know if you should go out dressed like that. Does that make a man insecure?
Well, I'd say you're being insecure, but maybe you have a good reason to be in that moment. Like if you just all of a sudden start telling your girl she got to wear long sleeve shirts and shit out of nowhere, you're insecure. But if your relationship's, going a certain way and all of a sudden she's dressing different and going out and certain shit like that, you are definitely, either way, you're being insecure because you're insecure in that moment where you're wondering like, why is she being like this? And you're getting insecure thinking that maybe she's looking for something. So it's always an insecurity, I'd say, Yeah,
I mean, I'm single. So, I'm single for a reason because I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about usually. But at the end of the day, I think I look at it this way. I don't think a man has any right to tell a girl or his woman that he's seeing what and what not to wear. But it's kind of like what you said, Jay, like there is an element of respect. You know what I'm saying? Like if you got your ass and your tits hanging out all over the place, like that's going to attract attention to you that ultimately may require your man to step in and get into a little tussle with another guy or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So everything that you do, it's kind of like what we said, you know, life is all about probability. You know what I'm saying? So like every little thing that you do has a reaction. You know what I mean? And like, if your girl is dressing skimpy like that, like, what's the purpose of it? You know what I mean? Like, all right, like, so we're going out to the club tonight. Maybe there's an exception, you know, she wants to get sexy, whatever, you know what I'm saying? But if she's doing it on the regular to just go to the grocery store or whatever, you're like, what's the purpose of this? Like, you're seeking attention somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the point of it? So I don't know. I think usually I tend to go a little bit deeper into things. That's just the way I think. But yeah, man, I mean, and again, I think it has to do with the guy. Like, if you're Tom Brady or you're LeBron James, your girl dresses like that, you're not insecure because you're fucking LeBron James, you're Tom Brady. Like, you think you're gonna do better than me? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what dude's gonna holler at you that you're gonna do better than me? Do you know what I'm saying? So like the average dude, the average guy that maybe his girl and fucking Tom Brady or something walks up to her, you're gonna be like, fuck the fuck, like Tom Brady or fucking LeBron just took my fucking girl. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but if I start dating Cardi B, I could never tell her how to dress.
Well, yeah.
But if I start dating a regular girl and a year later she starts dressing like Cardi B, I'm gonna probably have a comment on it. You know, right. I'll be like, hey, why the fuck all of a sudden are you dressing like Cardi B?
Yeah,
who I love, by the way, Jay.
Hey, me too, brother. Me too.
I do not. I can't stand Cardi B.
I don't understand that, dude. I love everything about her.
Is that a attraction thing or just like a?
Well, it's like the personality? Well, I love her Twitter. I think she's crazy. I mean, I don't agree with it. Like when she gets another thing, it's like I still love Cardi. I hate when she gets political, but even when she gets like, as long as she stay like, I mean, she'll just go on Twitter and just fucking like, I mean, the first time I came across her Twitter, she was talking about like some girl that was talking shit about her, and she was eating crab legs and like licking her fingers and fucking just talking about this shit. And I'm like, wow, like you're a fucking super celebrity. You're smoking hot and you're videotaping yourself doing probably the worst possible thing that any girl would want themselves to be witnessed doing. Like, you know, just fucking eating some greasy crab legs and fucking, you know.
See, I don't even think she's that. I don't think she's that hot. I don't like her personality. I don't like anything like, she's the type of girl that I feel like you can't go anywhere with her. Like, she's got to be the loudest voice in the room. She's got to always, and I'm like, I don't want nothing to do with that. Now, on the flip side, I like Nicki Minaj. Like, I would take Nicki Minaj over her. Like, I fucking love Nicki Minaj, man. And I don't know. And like, and I've told this story on the podcast before. You don't know, but I was on, I forget what it was on. I commented on her Instagram. This is going back 3 years ago, I'll say. Mm-hmm. And she was fucking around with Nas at the time. And she said something, and like now's like a perfect time for me to be single, or I don't know, some crazy shit. And I commented on it. I was like, I think it's a perfect time for you to date a white boy. And she responded to it, and she was like, I think you might be right. My fucking Instagram blew the fuck up. Like the next morning, people were reaching out to me like, yo, you made it on the Shade Room. And I was like, what the fuck is the Shade Room? I had motherfuckers inboxing me like all this crazy shit. Like, yo, can we put this up on air? I'm like, go for it. I don't give a fuck. So it was wild. Like, so besides that little fucking side story, I had my little shoot my shot with Nicki Minaj. I think there's a little bit more classiness than Nicki Minaj.
Of course there is.
Yeah.
But she like Cardi to me is just like having a conversation with her. Like, I would want to blow my fucking brains out. Like, I just couldn't deal with it.
No, I don't think Cardi B's as dumb as she lets on. I think she plays a character.
No. Oh yeah. No, absolutely. I'm not saying like, and listen, I know she's got to play the part.
I will fight to the death for Cardi. I will defend Cardi B to the end.
I just like if I had to choose, like if we're going like female rappers or something like that, like I just wouldn't go for Cardi. Like I would go with Nicki all day long. Like I think there's just a classiness to Nicki Minaj that she just doesn't have.
So who's your celebrity chick, maybe hip hop artist, Jay? Who would you take overall?
As far as skills or as far as attraction?
Well, whatever. Like, I mean, like, because I like Cardi B all around. I mean, but I'm saying if you could pick one to go on a date or something, like the one you'd want, hands down.
It might it might have to be Nicki off the top of my head. It might have to be Nicki.
I don't know, man. You got. I'm taking. Cardi.
Okay. You know what? I'm gonna take you back. And not Nicki. I had the biggest crush on her when I was a kid, and I still do. She has aged beautifully. Eve.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Eve is hot.
Married to a billionaire.
Yeah.
She's from Philly.
Yeah.
She's from West Philly.
Right.
Yeah, she was a big deal when she came. Like, I mean, because we're from Philly, so sometimes I don't like. She was probably a bigger deal in Philly before she became a big deal. You know?
Okay.
And she was. I mean, dude, she was putting out songs with Gwen Stefani. Like, I mean, she was huge at one point. You know, especially at the height of DMX and all, because she was with Rough Riders. But I'll tell you what. Who else? A celebrity crush from back in my childhood that I follow still. That it looks insane. Is Chili from TLC.
Oof. Yes.
I don't know if you guys follow her or whatnot, but
yes.
She is still like absolutely stunning, bro.
Well, you know who else I used to like that's from Philly that we actually, I know her cousin. So do you, Tom? Charlie Baltimore. Remember her?
I do, but like,
no, it's all right if you don't like her, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I think she was one of Biggie's first little things too. But yo, you know what else too? When you mentioned Eve, Jay, do you remember? Dude, there was all this controversy, like in the underground about it. People were mad at the Roots. You remember that song? If you don't worry about where, if you don't worry about where, you know what I'm talking about?
I think it's called the light. Yeah, the light. Is that called the?
I
think it's She Got You, I believe. But I know what song you're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, so in that song, if you think about like the lyrics, he's talking to a girl from Philly, and he's like talking about like she's studying whatever. He's saying all kinds of like Philly stuff, Philly colleges, Philly this, and but I think it's Erykah Badu that does the hook, right?
Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
Well, here's the thing that made it controversial too, was that it might have been like a fake kind of controversy that was created, but there was a lot of people that were hating on the Roots or Black Thought or whatever at the time, because apparently that was supposed to be Eve doing the hook, but then he replaced her with Erykah Badu.
I never.
So there was like Philly people that were mad because they were like, So when you look up this thing, if you ever get like Google curious, and you look it up, you'll see people beefing about it. Then you'll see people saying like that's not true. You know what I mean? But there still was a huge beef about it. I think Eve even responded to it and said like it's not true. And then of course there's people like she's just saying that. But there was a really big controversy underground about, because I think Black Thought was dating Erykah Badu at one point, and I think Eve was supposed to do the song first as the story, and then he started dating Erykah Badu and just put her over top of Eve, which would piss you off, I guess, if it was true.
Yeah, but if he was dating Erykah Badu, like, I mean, what are you gonna do? And I think she was perfect for that song. Although I could see Eve doing it as well, like, because Eve, like I'm playing that song in my head, and I'm trying to imagine Eve, and I'm like, she could be on that track. She could do it too. But Jay is like a younger dude, man. I like we talked about on this podcast before. Like, music was my go-to, man. Like, I wanted to be, and I mentioned to you in the inbox, man. I thought I was gonna be like the white Puff Daddy when I was younger, man. I was making mixtapes and all that shit. But like I fell out of the hip hop game. Like I just can't. A lot of these young dudes, and maybe you're hip to it, maybe you know a little bit more. For me, I can't tell you the some of the recent guys that I can think of off the top of my head was Saint John.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Yellow Wolf, I'm a fan of, and Black. And Black's not really hip hop. He's more like, I mean, maybe R&B, soul, hip hop. But like as far as new guys, and Yellow Wolf kind of isn't even really that new, but I feel like he's been just doing a lot recently. But these younger rappers, man, these mumble rappers and shit, like this is where I feel old. And I'm like, am I out of touch? Like I just don't get it. I can't fuck with it.
You know, hip hop is getting. I'm actually scared of what hip hop is becoming, as far as because you know we always had gangster rap,
right?
But we never had gangster rap like this, where rappers are actually rapping about what the crimes that they're actually doing.
Right.
Is actually getting more popular now. It's starting to get popular, where rappers are rapping about their dead rival gang members or dead people that they're beefing with. They're speaking on them, and it's getting so popular that hip hop is actually getting in a scary place. I don't know if that's a box that they want to open. But it's so profitable. That's the scary part about it. That the industry is profiting so much off of that, and it's not something that you should be putting out because the kids are gonna grow up. So I'm with you on the hip hop. I'm even with me. I don't really listen to. I guess you could say current hip hop. A lot of artists I don't listen to within the last like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
Like my favorite rapper is J. Cole. From the current era, it's J. Cole.
Okay. A
little more substance into his music than others.
Yeah.
He's kind of like the spokesman for like the college kids. When he first came out, he was kind of like the spokesman for the college kids going through a tough time. You're struggling, you eat ramen noodles, hot dogs, you know, basically for the struggle of a suburban kid, but you're a suburban kid, but you're growing up also around, you're in the suburbs, but not kind of like in the suburbs. You're still around negative influence. So that's what he speak of. And that's why J. Cole is my favorite rapper. But as far as the current state of hip hop, I don't like the direction that's going of that type of gangster rap getting that big and what that is projecting. And it's crazy, man.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's interesting that you brought that up because, you know, you were probably a little bit too young when Columbine first happened. When
99, right?
No, Columbine happened in 94, right, Dan?
Oh, really? Oh.
I don't know, but yeah, it wasn't 99, but it was like we were in high school. I mean, I was in like my sophomore year, so had to be like 95, 96. It could be 94.
I thought it was like 94, but like Columbine was the first school shooting that was like that made national attention. And then after that, it seemed like you heard about it much more. You know what I'm saying? Like then it became like a thing where you just heard it. It seemed like it was like an all the time thing.
Oh no, yo. Jay, I'm gonna go with you. He was 99.
Oh, really?
Was it really?
420.
Wow.
Yep, 420.
Whoa.
99. Dude,
I never knew it was 420 either. Like I didn't know that there was nobody ever talked about that. I don't understand that now.
Well, and I guess maybe that does make a little bit more sense because where I was going to go with this was, so I don't know. Obviously, I'm sure you know who Marilyn Manson was. Mm-hmm. So after this dude did it, he tried to say The Matrix and Marilyn Manson were kind of some influences on.
Why he did it?
Mm. Yes, and he had the black trench coat like Neo in The Matrix and all that shit. And Manson actually came out and wrote this great article in Rolling Stone magazine. At the time, me being, you know, that age, like I was like, obviously I was a lot more liberal and I was like, you know, I could absolutely see what Marilyn Manson was trying to say. And I was like, oh, it's not his fault. Right. Now, and I'm not saying that it's his fault, but I can see how easy it is for younger people and even people that don't have direction in their life. Just a lot of people that can take these images and get wrapped up in it and then act it out in reality.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the knocks on hip hop is that same thing. You know what I'm saying? Especially because when we were growing up in 94, obviously that's kind of when gangster rap started to kind of like really kind of peak with Dr. Dre and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even like with NWA and all. But that realism, I think a lot of people kind of like could relate to that maybe, and they just acted that out more so. Even people that weren't gangster, didn't know about that, they put on that persona. And it's a scary thing, like you were saying, because I've always loved hip hop, and like I look at groups like something like Tribe Called Quest.
Okay.
Which they are a phenomenal group. They might be, I don't know if you know a whole lot by them because they were out a little bit. Yeah, Well, okay. Tribe Called Quest had killer hits, man. Q-Tip, Phife Dawg.
Q-Tip. What's that? But it's one hit I'm trying to think of. Is it Electric?
Well,
what's it called?
Electric Relaxation.
Okay, yeah, that's the one I know.
But they got Scenario. So what's the scenario?
Yeah.
With Busta Rhymes. Shit like that. That is like a beautiful part of hip hop culture that is not associated with anything gangster, anything killing people. And that's what I'm like, it sucks because the shit that you're talking about reflects it negatively. And I think you brought a great point, man. And it's a shame because I do think it has an impact on especially people, especially impacts on kids that don't really know where their future is going. You know what I'm saying? Or they feel like they don't have an outlet to succeed in this country.
Well, I think like when you were saying, like, I don't know much about J. Cole, but when you were describing what his music was about, you know, like you said, college kids, and you were like saying oodles and ramen noodles and shit and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I feel that the hip hop that even like, because there was always the gangster element, like there was always going to be, when we were growing up, it was like there was the music that was out there, and then you'd have a friend who was like really into it, and he's the dude with all like the underground tapes. Like, listen to this. That's where like the really hard shit was, you know. But I feel that most hip hop was misunderstood back then, where it was like it was bad, but sometimes they were telling you a story about what someone had to do. They weren't always like it was being glorified for that person's travel, or for that person's, you know, that what that person had to do. But the end game was always like, get out of that situation. You know, like that was what the story was. Mm-hmm. Whereas now it seems like it's just all glorifying that stuff, you know, like you like that's what you need to do to be down or whatever, you know. Whereas I feel like, you know, like Snoop Dogg and stuff, they'll tell you a story about a party in the hood, and something bad might happen in this story or whatever. But I always kind of took it as like, hey, that people just trying to survive in the hood, you know. Whereas now it's just glorified violence and sex and, you know,
and drugs. Like there's a lot, you know, the drug scene is pretty prevalent. And it's just crazy, man, because like, again, I do think, like, I was even having this discussion with my uncle a couple months ago about, can you really blame entertainment on society? Like, is there a correlation between the two? You know what I mean? And I do think there is. Like, I do think that some people do kind of like act out what they listen to and what they watch. You know what I mean? Especially younger kids, because they're trying to find their way in life. You know what I mean? So like they're imitating people that they feel like that looks cool. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. I that's really the sad part, because you are seeing a lot more. Like, I just saw, I don't know this. I don't even remember the rapper's name, but he was like 11, and he was like pointing Glocks and shit at the camera. And it's going back a couple years. Now, this is a couple years ago, but the dude wound up dying. And
getting killed by his own best friend.
You know what I'm talking about?
I can't remember. I think I want to say it's. I don't want to mess up his name. I think it's like Little CEO or Baby CEO or something like that. But he got killed by his own friend.
Something, and I forget. It might have been somebody I follow on Instagram that was like kind of condemning it, and then I went and looked up who the person was and like a little bit about it, and I was like, dude, it's fucked up. Like it's a shame, man, because there's so much positivity that can come out of it. You know what I mean? And the trend that's going on now, it's just negative. And you know, that's why like I said with Black, I think Black is I've mentioned him on this podcast before. Fucking super dope, super incredible musically. And like there's like for me personally, like even going back to DMX, I was watching an interview with him. And the one thing they were saying about DMX, he was kind of like Drake in a way before Drake became Drake, in the sense that like Drake got very popular off being very open about his feelings. You know what I'm saying? DMX was that guy, but DMX was that dude that was like with like a really hardcore twist that like he was opening up with his feelings, but he was fucking crazy and you wouldn't fuck with him. You know what I'm saying? Whereas like Drake has that still cookie cutter type vibe to him. You know what I mean? And I think Black kind of took it to another degree with his music, and like some of the shit and some of the interludes, the things that he's talking about, that shit, it just connects with me because I feel like a lot of times, you know, and we talked about a little bit on here, for you to reach out, like men showing emotion or going out of their way even to reach out. It's it's unique, and I can appreciate that. You know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of ways and a lot of situations throughout society, we have to, it would be wise for all of us to kind of take a step back. Not everybody has to be a tough guy, and just show a little bit more emotion. You know what I mean? Just be cool, just be open. That doesn't make you a pussy. That doesn't make you less of a man. We even kind of talked about that a little bit on the last podcast too, about.
But Jay, even as an observation, like just as a thought I'm having right now, is like when you look at the old school rappers, like your Snoop Dogg, your Dr. Dre, I mean, even Eminem, maybe, you know, and DMX, you know, Jay-Z, Biggie Smalls, Tupac. These were guys who, like, maybe not so much Tupac, because Tupac had a different approach because he kind of found himself in that world, but he used to say like he was telling stories from the hood, you know what I mean? But all the guys from when I was growing up, they were guys who had backstories, but now they were rappers, you know what I mean? And yes, there was that element of people that couldn't stop living the way they were living prior, or there was also the element of maybe doing stuff and becoming more popular, being known as a harder guy because you're still involved in that shit. But maybe now it's just like these young kids who it's like rather than living it the way Snoop Dogg may have lived it, it's like they're living it because it's the thing to do. It's like, you know what I'm saying? So maybe that could be a different element to it too, where it's just like, hey man, that's the, like, if that, like you said, it's, they make money, you know, with that type of shit. So maybe it's like something that they're seeking. Whereas the rappers that I'm familiar with were like seeking to get away from it, you know, and telling stories from before rather than, you know, let me make a story. Let me make a crazy story.
And like I said, I could chalk it up to also social media also, as far as, you know, everybody wants to go viral, and maybe rapping about your dead opposition, your dead your rival. It, you know, it adds a little element of authenticity, and it makes it like people want to click that and they want to hear that. That, you know, and so like I said, I told you guys a few days ago about the you know, I know you heard about the 7-year-old girl that got killed in Chicago in the drive-through.
No, I read it on you. I read what you sent to us, and I told Tommy that sounds interesting.
Well, I heard about it, and I was like, this is just crazy.
it was a huge story. She got shot in the drive-by, and of course she died, and the father was in critical condition, but he pulled through.
Oh, did
then details came out a few days later about why they potentially got shot, and the video also leaked of it. Apparently, a few days prior to him getting shot and his daughter getting killed, he went to the grave site of one of the rival gang members in Chicago, one of his rival gang members, and he actually pissed on his grave for social media to go viral. He did that to go viral. And then, you know what I'm saying? And then that happens where you get caught in a drive-by with your daughter in the car and she gets killed. And it's not fair to her that.
Well, and I don't know, because I know the dude that got arrested, he was young, right? Was he 18 or 19?
Right.
So how old was the dude that got shot, the father?
Now that I don't, all I know is he was a up and coming rapper. I'm not gonna say up and coming. He was an aspiring rapper. Is a better choice of words. So, but as you know, I don't know if you know if you guys heard of drill music. What's called drill music?
Yes.
So the drill, and then like I said, the drill music, of course, is them actually drill. Drill basically means they're actually rapping about rapping about killing and the people that they killed. It's basically like snitching on themselves in a way. So that's why that's such a huge thing in Chicago. So that's one of the reasons why he was doing that, to try to further his rap career.
I think that's big in Baltimore too.
Right. Well, it's becoming big. Like they're doing it in London now. Like they got London drill now. And they got Mexican drill. Drill is like the biggest genre of music right now, like biggest genre in hip hop right now, subgenre.
Well, think about that. That's crazy. It's if drill music is basically rapping about people you killed, and it's now the biggest subcategory of hip hop. That's crazy.
Well, I remember when I first kind of heard about it was through maybe like some website, whatever, I don't know, but there was this little white kid, little baby Jesus
Slim
Jesus. Yeah. And it's this little fucking puny ass white dude.
Malcolm in the Middle looking.
Yeah. And just, he's fucking pointing guns around. And the whole time, everything's like, I'll pop shots in your grill and blah, blah, blah. And the dude looked like he was like 70 pounds. Like, and I don't know how old he was. He was young. Mm-hmm. And I think there was even a disclaimer in the beginning of the video that like, these aren't real guns. Props. And he kind of got grilled because he got really kind of famous off of that song. I thought it was called like Drill Time or something like that.
Yes, that's correct.
And then after that, he was like interviewed by like some hip hop, radio stations, all this. And he was like, no, I'm not about that life. I just like it. And I like say it. And it's like, and I think somebody like The Game, I think kind of spoke out about it. Cause he was like, look, man, it's not a joke. Like you put yourself out there like this, then you could get hurt. Like if you're going to talk about that life, some other people will take you at your word and use it. You know what I mean? And I was just like, dude, this is fucking bonkers. And, it just kind of goes hand in hand what we were saying about like, it sells, but unfortunately, like it's not a good look for people. And, we've also talked about clout chasing and whatnot. And it sounds like, I didn't know that story about the dude pissing on somebody's grave.
Yeah, the video, it's actually a video online. You could actually look it up. And yeah, him and his homies were around the grave and he's pissing on the grave and somebody's recording and he's laughing and the rest is history.
Yeah. And then you got to think like all the result of that to make that video, like all the result of that because you want a little bit of attention. Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad, man. And this goes beyond obviously hip hop. I mean, there's just so many different elements in social media and how it's negatively affected society as a whole. Because, one of the reasons why I wanted to kind of have you on was because like, yo, it's so easy for people to just run on social media, make a comment because they want those likes, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they want those likes, and they've talked about it, and it's like scientific facts that like it's like endorphins rushing when you're getting those comments, you're getting the likes, and the way Facebook and the way Instagram is set up, it's for that purpose. They know that's how people react to these systems. You know what I mean? And people just go out there and they say reckless shit, and not only just reckless shit, but just even if they're misinformed, and then things go viral, and then you get all these other people that comment on things, and then it just starts this back and forth and this like negative outlook. And in the reality, unfortunately, like as we talked about this on the podcast too, your life interactions, the majority of time, you don't see the same kind of hatred that you do on social media. You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy to me. And, with everything being so politicized, the way politics have just infiltrated sports and, social justice and just everything. It's like this huge culmination of just way too much information. Like me personally, 90% of the people that are ingesting most of this information is incapable of handling it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not emotionally fucking stable most of the time. You know what I mean? And like, it's tough for me. Like I go online sometimes and I see shit, man. And I'm like, bro, like this is down. Like I don't really even watch the news much anymore.
Expression, that's right.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Let me ask you two guys a question then, because there is a hot topic that's been going on the last few years. I was saying that ever since the emergence of social media,
yeah,
it's so prominent now that mental health is almost at like an all-time high, and I would probably say majority of that is due to social media. People need to feel the need to get those likes and be like, they post a picture and it gets 2 likes, and that of course that doesn't feel good to them. But that same person posted, another person, they see another person post a picture, that picture gets 1,000 likes in 4 minutes, and that makes them feel insecure about that.
Oh yeah.
So what do you guys think about that? Do you think that social media can actually cause mental health? And what do you guys think?
I mean, I was just talking about this with Danny, so I posted something the other day on my personal account, and it was basically along the lines of like this book that I'm reading, and how people in general, like even when society is going well, like they did scientific studies, like, if there were no murder, if there was no crime, if there was no all these things, like how would people view the world? Would it become this utopia that some of our politicians like to talk about? And there were scientists that came up with the idea. They were like, no, because innately, like just for humans to survive, we have this thing inside us, like we'll find the negative even when things are going well. You know what I mean? It's just a survival instinct. And I posted it, and it didn't get a lot of likes. Whereas, like I was saying to Danny, I'm like, maybe a year or so ago, I could have posted a picture of me taking a dump and I would have got a shit ton of likes. But because I've gotten a little bit more political now, and a lot of my friends very liberal and all, I don't get that same attention, which is fine, because like I would rather, like I'm not posting online really for likes anymore. It's more so like for me, and the way I kind of changed politically and all that stuff, it was from people that I would see online posting something and I would disagree with it. And then I'm like, oh, let me go look and just try and find, whatever. So that's kind of how I changed my thing. And plus at 40, the things that I was posting, like when I was posting fucking selfies with my dog, you know what I'm saying? Like I was just trying to get some chick to pop up in my inbox and be like, yo, I love your dog and you're looking handsome, whatever. You know what I mean? Now I don't care about that as much. Now I kind of want to like talk about social issues. Like I want to talk about humanity, like, cause there's like a lot of things and a lot of ways that people they don't want to deal with it. You know what I mean? They just want to see you post a picture of your fucking food, your dinner. You know what I'm saying? Or they just want to see that you believe what they do. You know what I mean? Like if you didn't post a black box or something, like, does that mean you're racist? Like you don't support BLM? Like there's just this trend in social media that I think people fall into. And it's sad, man. And it's unfortunate. And I could see, especially this past year with the pandemic, because, you know, up where we're at, like things were a little bit more locked down. And I think it absolutely plays on people. And it also, like we talked about LeBron James and all these things, when people are posting things, and I think sometimes people just post things just to get the likes, and they don't even really necessarily mean it. You know what I mean? Like I think a lot of people come out on social media and they're kind of fake about it.
Well, what I would say to that, Jay, is like I'm with Tommy all the way through as myself now. But when you were saying like, because I think what you were saying was like, say I post a picture, I get 2 likes. Let's say Tommy posts a picture and he gets 40 likes, you know? And it's like, if I was 10 years old and I was in, and I can only imagine the world is that little circle that these people are in their teens right now is probably worse. But just even merely going off of what you said, like, man, you like, if you're sitting there saying to yourself, like, oh, I look awkward or whatever, you're going through them stages of life. And then you're like, wow, I just like posted my best picture up there of myself and I got 2 likes and they're from my family and like your other buddy's getting 40 likes and maybe somebody comes and comments some weird, like, I don't think I could have even taken a weird, like, say you just put your shit out there publicly and some random guy gets on your thing or girl or something and they're like, ew, you know, it would probably destroy me when I was 10 years old, you know? But to add to that too, like, although I like to say like that shit don't bother me now, I will admit, like, I've been on Twitter where like it's the weirdest thing ever. It's like whenever I'm posting some shit online, if I'm not really trying to engage with people, I either just try and be funny and also in a way where it's like impenetrable. Like somebody can come underneath and say something and you're like, it doesn't matter. Like, you know, like say whatever your comment is, say like LeBron, say I commented under LeBron and I said like, stick to playing basketball or something stupid, you know? Nobody can hurt your feelings at that. They can be like, shut up, you this. And you fall in this fake world where it's just like back and forth over nothing. But I have said like I have made comments or tweets where I realized I was being a little too vulnerable. Like, in other words, like I might go under his thing and say like, hey man, I really liked you and I really wish you wouldn't do this or something. And the next thing you know, your phone's blowing up and you're looking and you realize like, oh man, I was too vulnerable in that tweet. And now you're getting beat up from every angle. And I'm sitting there like, oh my God, get me out of this. Please get me out of this, you know? So even as an adult, I can see how those bullies and shit out there can really, because once they start to get on somebody, that's it. They don't let go. And I could only imagine being young. I mean, like, and being at a place, like I'm in a very secure place in myself now. But man, if I was going through something, maybe didn't feel right, didn't feel secure, and just got beat up online one day, like, I don't know, man. I think it's a scary thing. But I also think that moment that things like this, like meeting you, like what I think is cool is social media and all this stuff is just a shitty world. But every once in a while, like the shitty world that it is, there's a couple of things that have come out of it where I've made friendships or whatever, where it's like, you know, as long as you're hovering around the shit and you're focused on the good, there is some good things there, you know, like I guess as much as we say bad about social media, I can't remember a time without it where I'd be able to, you know, make friends and meet a guy from Atlanta that I never met before. You know what I mean? With a and then end up on a podcast. You know, it's pretty cool. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of good to it too, you know?
Well, or you could be on like AOL, like in the chat rooms, like age, sex, location.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
well, the thing that's
those good old days.
Dude, that's the taboo though, that like kids nowadays, everything's about meeting people on the internet and everything. It took me so long to break that taboo, because when I was a kid, people were like, oh yeah, I'm talking to this girl on Messenger or whatever. And I'm like, you have no clue who you're talking to. You have zero fucking clue. That's probably a 55-year-old man, you know? And then all of a sudden, you know, it's normal to meet girls and shit online. And I don't know, like you're 28. So I'm sure that's normalized in your life.
Oh, but most definitely.
Yeah. But that's still never normalized in mine. Like I would meet girls on Tinder and shit. And like, I would like fucking start to get scared when they're like telling me to meet them. Like they'd be like, oh yeah, just where do you live? And I'd be like, that's none of your business. You know, you get real, like, I don't know who the fuck this person is.
I actually just matched with some chick. Well, it's actually a couple. I didn't know.
Huh?
I saw this hot chick. So I swiped right. And then she was like, hey there, wrote me right away. And I was like, oh. So I looked up and I started reading her bio. Later down, you see she's with a dude. And I was like, all right, maybe it's a best friend or something. Like, I don't know. And then they're like kissing and shit. So it was like, it gave this whole detailed thing about how this dude is moving to Vancouver for work for 2 years. So in the meantime, she needs a boyfriend to kind of like fill in until he comes back. And I was like, what the? So it was like, we need an open-minded person, this, that, and I was like, and I'm sitting there, I was at the bank, I'm in my car, and I was like, I wonder if I could do this. Like, I was like, she was fucking pretty hot. So I'm like, this dude's going to be away for 2 years. Who knows? By the time he comes back, she might be like, fuck this dude.
No, but see, my taboo mind is like, yeah, I can maybe do this. And then all I'm picturing is like, you go over there and she fucking handcuffs you to the bed, tells you he's in Toronto. Next thing you know, in walks him. You're like, hey, you want to get these fucking handcuffs off me?
Yeah, he shows up like that dude in what was that movie, The Old School, where the dude shows that, and he's like, hey, I'm here for the gangbang. When you're fucking handcuffed to the fucking bed. Yeah, but yeah, so I don't know, man. Dating that way is fucking weird. It's wild. Like I still can't, like I always worked better in person. And it's like kind of weird. Like I just messed with this chick the other day. And like we mentioned something, and like she's giving me like one word responses. And I'm like, listen, I'm not Chris Rock funny. You know what I'm saying? So like, you better give me something to work with, or I'm just not gonna fucking say shit. Cause like we need a little back and forth here.
But even to keep it, like, I guess to totally just answer your questions, like I couldn't imagine that dude that had a hard time in school. Like there's you'll never get rid of it in kids. There's going to be the dude with the weird face or the you know, whatever. And the kids are going to fucking make fun of him behind his back or something, which is, I mean, I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying it's going to happen. There's going to be the awkwardly overweight girl at school. What I can't imagine is the social media world. Like if I was 13 years old, I know that we would have no holding back. Like if people were commenting under some girl's photo and she was at a different school and we didn't even know really who she was, I can only imagine what would start to happen. But I feel like I do feel like, cause I have a young sister and stuff, and I have noticed the things that I think people would do. It's like they grow up in this world and they have a little bit more sense of control. Like I'm sitting here imagining what people would do when I was 12, and it's really still frowned upon among 12-year-olds. You know, you don't do that or something. But I just envision a world where I would be super depressed because of things that would happen online, like something as simple as your friend getting more likes on a photo than you or something. Or even just like, imagine you like a girl and you're like liking her photos, or just even something simple as like you put a comment underneath like, oh, I like your hair like that. And then your friend does it and she goes down the line. Like, you know how we all watch, like I've liked people's post or said something on their post. And I look up and I'm like, I think these are the little things you're talking about where it's like, I don't care and they don't really bother me. But I have looked at people's like comments where I'm like, they went down the line and liked everybody's comment except for mine. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so could you imagine like going, like there's a girl you like at school and you're just like trying to play it cool and you're like, hey, you know, cool, you went to vacation, you know, whatever. And then you go back and look and like she only liked, you know, your friend's comment and didn't even like yours. That kind of shit will probably crush you if you're 12, you know?
Right. Well, there has been studies that shown too, like it affects women, girls, teenage girls the most.
Okay.
Yeah, because I listened to a couple podcasts where they were talking about, because like they were like, you know, with boys are usually kind of like physically active. They'll wind up getting into a fist fight or some dumb shit. But like girls, they'll tend to use social media to spread more rumors and shit. So it affects younger teenagers because they saw like the suicide rates between in like younger girls were on the rise. So yeah, man, that shit's crazy. But social media in general, man, it's a gift and a curse.
Does that kind of stuff hurt your feelings, Jay? When certain girls don't like your photos?
As you said, when I was younger,
yeah,
when I was younger, that definitely used to get to me. Like, you know, you post a picture, you get two likes, one of them's your mom. It's not the best feeling.
Yeah.
So, but as I'm getting older, not really, you know. So yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird that I don't have those problems, but I'll still harp on them because I can only imagine some poor kid somewhere right now, like just looking at his computer, 2 likes, he's got a tear in his eye. It's a shame.
Yeah.
But so moving forward, man, like what are your plans with with the YouTube channel? I know you said you're just kind of like experimenting with it. And also I know one thing that was pretty cool too that you mentioned. You said your name King Poe was, you know, for poetry as well. Mm-hmm. So that was another thing that I reached out because I was like, oh shit, like I have a poetry page. So what do you do with the poetry shit? Like, do you have a page for it? Do you like just write in your free time? Like what's
honestly, I haven't written poetry in about 6 years, but it was something I was so known for it.
I
was actually known for my couple of my poetry, written poetry actually went viral a couple of times. But I was known for it, so that's why I went with the name. Been my name for a few years now, but I went with the name King Poe because I was so known for it. But I haven't really I haven't really had any inspiration in a long time.
Well, let me ask you something, man, because I know my biggest inspiration was heartbreak, was chicks. So when I don't have that, I ain't got shit to say. Now I've written some things that maybe some small element of like social elements to it, but for the most part, man, if I don't like, it's almost like I want to meet a chick just for her to break my heart, so I have something to fucking write about.
That's right.
but I seriously, like, I haven't been inspired to write shit. Nothing, man. It's been blank. So like, what usually do you draw inspiration from?
That's exactly where I get my from women.
Oh, okay.
And the problem with me is with women, I don't get attached very easily. So I don't fall for women very easily. So it's kind of hard to draw. And when I get my inspiration from heartbreak, but you meet a bunch of women that even if it doesn't work out, you don't really care if it works out.
Yeah.
Right.
It's hard to get inspiration from that. You know, you don't really care if she's going or if she'll be the next week.
No,
you have a new chick, so you don't care.
Well, it's funny you're even saying that because I was listening to like when I was a kid, I used to listen to like Lionel Richie like religiously, and like all these certain songs. And it's funny because I laugh now because I'm so over that stuff like that. It kind of goes away, dude. Like I feel like even relationships for me at my age, they're not that shit that it used to be when I was 20, where it was like, oh my God, I'm in love with this girl. I can't take my eyes off her type of shit. And it's like, I listen to these songs that I remember, like, even when I was just single and, you know, some song would come on and I used to just, it would overtake you in a way because you'd be like still looking for that romance, that love. And now, like, I listen to the song and I'm like, I couldn't even get into it the same way. Just music, you know, because you don't have that. You end up with this. I don't want to say it's jaded because it's not like I'm saying like I've had my heart broken so many times. Because even then, if I was jaded, there's a song that you could really get into or something for like the guy who never found love or something. But it's just so weird to me how differently that whole idea of love used to kind of take over my world. And it's just not like that anymore.
Because well, at a young age, like you're so impressionable and you have these like grand ideas of like what life should be. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you meet this girl, oh man, I'm going to get married. We're going to have kids. You know, we're going to get the house. We're going to do all these things, blah, blah, blah. And then as you get older and that doesn't happen, life only becomes about getting up in the fucking morning and going to work, paying your fucking bills. And like, that's it. Like, and maybe going out maybe once a week or whatever to have a couple drinks with your boys, your people, whatever, you know what I mean? But at least that's the way I look at it, because I was Mr. fucking heartbreak, dude. Like I was fucking, you know, but now I'm just to the point where I'm just like, people are like, so what are you waiting for to get married? And I'm like, I just don't think it's fucking happening.
Dude, I think if you're
ain't
looking,
even fucking worried about it no more.
If you're looking for poetry to write, you should go with that chick with that dude in Toronto. That'll be a great. I'm sure there's a great poem that'll come out of that.
Yeah, I know, right? I could definitely get some inspiration out of that. More, maybe a fucking quick porno or something than poetry, but yeah, I don't know, man. So it's crazy, but you know, it's been a long podcast, man. I think it might be time to land this plane.
But so, well, before we do though, is there what you call it? I really want to say, Jay, it was great to meet you, bro.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you came on and stuff. I hope you had a good time.
I had a great time. Like I'm not gonna lie to you, I was a little nervous coming on because my first time actually doing anything like this. So I apologize for any inexperience that I showed, but it's, you know.
No, dude. No, listen. I was thinking that when you first, I didn't know if you ever did it before or not, but just know this. Our first time was her, like, not, it wasn't, this is great. There's nothing, I'm not saying anything bad about this podcast, but what I'm saying is it's funny because people don't realize that, but it's nerve wracking, dude. It's nerve wracking, but you weren't nervous. Everything was good. But I'm glad you did it because that's one thing me and Tommy were talking about was like, I think this guy wants to kind of do a podcast like for himself or whatever. And I know that it was just a big deal for us to do one, and now you got one under you. And you know, I hope to have you on here again, and also I hope you take this and move forward for yourself with it too. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I was saying to Danny, I was like, well, yo, if he has a YouTube thing, like obviously you're not afraid of being in front of the camera, and that goes a long way because I got to be honest with you. Like me and Danny were talking about it. I don't know that I would have been able to do what you did with just going on and doing it myself. Like, I think it's a little bit easier to kind of bounce off somebody and have a conversation. You know what I mean? And it kind of kicks you in the butt a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like there's times where maybe I'm slacking and Danny reaches out to me or vice versa. So what you did starting off with just doing some shit on your own, you got to get some kudos for that, man, because again, I don't know that I would, I don't know that I'd have the balls to do it.
Yeah. And I'm telling you something right now, even though all of our podcasts aren't the greatest, I love doing them. So if you like it, man, do it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. And yo, listen, you can go back and listen to some shit we say. We say some crazy shit. We say some controversial shit, but most of the time, like, we're just shooting the shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're just a couple guys who we're trying to figure out what's going on in the world from a fucking bartender and a fucking trash man's perspective. Like, who the fuck are we? You know what I mean? Like, we're just regular people just trying to get other people's perspective on life. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So
yeah, and I'm gonna go listen to some J. Cole now. I'm interested. I want to hear
only
about
the only the
these
old J.
ramen
Cole.
noodles.
yeah, yo, well, if you go listen to just some J. Cole, Jay, you gotta listen to some Tribe Called Quest.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely get at it. I'm gonna definitely get at a try because I've actually heard well, I say that for another day, but I'm gonna definitely give it a try. I'll say that.
Yeah, we gotta go catch some of the draft to see Dallas fuck shit up.
Oh.
But Jay, where can people find you? Like if you want, I don't know if you really want to put your information out there or whatnot, but if you want
everything is King Poe. So it's Instagram _ King Poe, Facebook is King Poe, and YouTube is King Poe.
All right, cool. And yo, keep up with the channel, man, and definitely stay in touch.
Yeah, definitely, man.
No doubt.
It was a pleasure. Pleasure to meet you. Pleasure to have you.
Hey man, same here, man.
Yeah, man. Fuck Dallas. Fuck Dallas. So I'm just gonna close with that.
Who's winning the Super Bowl? Who's winning the Super Bowl this year?
I don't even know. That's tough.
Patty Mahomes.
Yeah.
You think Mahomes? I thought the Bills should have won this year.
I would like to see the Bills just because it would have been a hell of a underdog story. But I mean, Tom Brady, you just can't hate on Brady no more.
You can't.
Teflon Tom just gets the job done.
All right, man. I'll see you, Jay. King Poe. Later, Jay.
All right, all you guys.
Still there?
Yeah, I just want to make sure. Don't report. I removed them, but anyway, it doesn't matter. It just gave me it looked like I was like removing them, like he did something bad. I hope I didn't hit the wrong button. It was like, would you like to report King Poe? I'm like, no. But no, that was pretty cool, right?
Yeah, man. I'm glad we were able to have somebody new on and then just kind of just shoot the shit and see, get some different perspectives and all. But so sorry.
Nice, interesting conversation about hip hop there. I kind of liked having his take on it and stuff. So it was pretty cool. And we'll definitely, hopefully down the line too, we can have him on. Maybe if he does his own podcast, we'll get on his too. So it'll be pretty cool.
He'll probably be famous before we are.
King Poe.
But
I love his name. What a great name, King Poe.
Yeah, it's a dope name. Name. But yeah, man, sorry for the delay in the newest episode. But Danny picked up some extra hours. I'm back to serving the old folks, slinging cocktails for seniors again.
Yeah, the old silverbacks.
Yeah, so it's been a little bit busy, but hopefully we'll be back to a regular schedule.
Yeah, when we come back next time, I want you to tell the story about how you had to kick some chick out.
Yeah.
Tommy had to kick a silverback out the bar for getting too crazy. He had to call security, have her wheeled out.
Yeah.
But all right, guys. Well, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I want to big shout out to King Poe. Make sure you check him out on YouTube, Instagram, and I believe Twitter, King Poe. And make sure you go to our stuff, guys, and like and subscribe. We love comments. We love likes. And we really love subscribes. So make sure you hit us up. Tom, good catching up with you. Anything to say before we head out?
No.
No.
Simple, bro.
All right, guys. See you later.